This is the use and review video of the Eyelights heads-up display system for motorcycle helmets. This video focuses on actual use and review, my thoughts after using the Eyelights heads-up display product a little bit. The last two videos covered, well, the first one was about installation, where you actually attach the control outside, the mic inside, speakers, and the prism up here. The most recent video was about using your phone to connect to the Eyelight system, because you have to go through both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi because you have video as well as audio. So this video actually takes off with the helmets installed with everything. The phone is connected to everything, and let's actually go use it and see what we think. There are three ways to navigate through the menu on the Prism. The first one is through what they claim you can do with voice commands. So in theory, you can say, "Hey Google," and my phone lights up. And I could get it sometimes at just sitting still to light up in the Prism as recognizing that I'm talking to Google, but I could never actually successfully navigate through anything. If I tried to say play music or whatever, I didn't have any luck doing that. The second way is the smart controller, which is mounted to the handlebars of the Aprilia. So with the smart controller, I could actually go in there and I could manipulate the icons, go up and down through the menu. It wasn't as smooth as just touching them on your phone. There was a little bit of a delay, so you'd hit the button, but you didn't know if it took or not until then it jumped, so it was a little bit clunky, but it is a way to do it. The unfortunate part is if you're pressing buttons on your handlebars and you're looking over here focusing on the Prism, what you're not doing is paying attention to what's in front of you. So navigating through the menu is a distraction you probably don't need while you're riding a motorcycle. The third way, and what I think is the best way, is just through your phone. So when I first start out, I've got everything connected and all that. I will turn on the phone, I'll activate things like the JBV1 Valentine 1 app for the radar detector, the navigation, I'll plug in the address on the phone and hit go, and then that'll show up on my Prism screen, and I will also start playing my music over here. That way, I've done everything, I can take the phone, put it in my pocket, and just let this go. With any product like this, one of our first questions is going to be, what's the battery life like? What I found when I first got the product is I could get about 2 hours of life out of it, which for me being in San Antonio, buzzing up to Austin, that gets me by if I go up I-35, depending on how bad traffic is. However, if I go up the back roads, I'm going to be running out of battery power before I actually get to where I want to go. In fact, the last time I went up there, up I-35, I actually ran out of battery before I even got home. So the battery died after probably somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours, somewhere in there. So it wasn't even getting 2 hours. Now, what I've found to augment that is if you take an external battery pack, plug it into the controller out here so that it's charging the whole time, and stick that in my pocket, then I was able to get up to Austin, hang out, do my thing, and get back and still have battery power the whole time. So that's a way to help with that battery life. Now, just in comparison, Senna 60S is published to get about 12 hours of battery life. And you're going to hear me compare this system to the Senna because to me the Senna is kind of the gold standard for audio communications. So you might ask, well, how come this gets such poor battery life compared to the Senna? Well, for one thing, the Senna is only communicating audio signals. So it's only taking audio from the phone and putting it through in the speakers here. The Eyelights is doing all that, plus it's also taking video over Wi-Fi from the phone and displaying that through lighting up this Prism. So it definitely has a higher amp draw than what the Senna would be. As far as sound quality goes, I did make a call to my sister wearing the helmet with the Eyelights. I don't think I had the earplugs in that day, so I could hear the call okay. She said she could hear me okay. This was at, probably 50, 60 mile an hour or whatever. However, generally I do wear earplugs when I'm still wearing the helmet, because you get a lot of wind noise, especially these lighter weight helmets, and that can still damage your hearing. And my hearing's bad enough as it is. So generally I wear the earplugs. With earplugs in and the helmet, both for music or for phone calls, I have a really hard time trying to hear any kind of clarity through the speakers. So it's fine at maybe a lower speed, but if you have highway speed and you have the earplugs in, I can't hear what's going on through those speakers. I can tell there's music coming out of them. I can hear there's a beat maybe to it, but I half the time couldn't even tell you what song is playing. In comparison, the Sena, even with earplugs in the helmet, I can hear it fine. I can do a phone call fine. I think the quality of the sound that I'm recording through the Sena is better. And definitely the sound coming out the speakers is a lot better. So I can have all the plugs in, the helmet on, and still hear my music very clearly through those speakers for the Sena versus this one. The other thing that I thought was a real shortcoming of this, and maybe it's just my ignorance, I could not figure out how to adjust the volume of this Eyelight system. There's just a big button in the middle to turn it on and off. So that's not it. As opposed to the Sena, where you have a very clear dial that goes up and down, and you can, I think you can also use the Sena to move like forward and backward in the tracks of the music. You don't have that option over here. I tried the smart controller, looking for a way to turn the volume up and down. I tried the Google Voice thing. I couldn't get the volume to go up and down. So what I was forced to do is, when I left the house, I had to crank the volume on the phone so that it was blasting at me when I took off. And then of course, once I got to highway speed, then I was struggling to hear it. So again, it may just be my lack of familiarity, but the music is full blast and I have no way of turning it down. As far as visibility, the Eyelights has a little arm that you can adjust to get it perfect to your eye. Once you have the helmet strapped to your head and stationary, as long as it's the right size, it shouldn't be shifting on you up, down, or side to side. So as long as the helmet's still and you get this adjusted, you should be fine having that in place. Once you get that, it shows a very nice crisp image. I was very pleased with how clear I could see it. The only complaint about visibility is that if you're riding during the day, and let's say that I had a bright blue sky in the background, it's a little bit hard to see the prism just because you don't have enough contrast with it. So what I found myself doing is, if I was riding and I had something light behind the prism, I would just turn my head a little bit to get either some dark grass or a dark car in the background, and then I could see more clearly. However, at night, take off, and no matter what direction you look, you've got dark background, just super crisp and easy to see. As far as comfort goes, this piece here doesn't rub or touch your face, so no complaints there, no complaints on the control. The mic though, however, it's a little bit of a bigger boom mic. It touches your face, and I'm sure they have to include a boom mic because some of these helmets now, the whole front face pops up, so they probably have to. But Sena offers an option for either a boom mic or for those little, very short, low profile mics that are wired, which I always use those. They're easy to just stick up in the front. They have really great sound quality. In fact, I even use those mics from the Sena for my vlogging with the GoPro up here, just because it's the best sound that I found, as you saw in one of the other videos, for getting sound from your voice and a little bit of engine road noise to make it real and immersive with the GoPro. So I definitely like the Sena mics a lot better. This one just rubbing on your face is kind of annoying. In summary, I have mixed feelings about the product. For one, I applaud them for taking a step out there and trying to bring heads-up display to motorcycle helmets. The military does it with their helmets. Why wouldn't we use the same technology if we're able to? So I love the idea of having this in here. Some people are going to fuss about the installation. It's hard to get it looking very pretty when you're chopping up mesh and you have to cut into the foam and everything to get it in there. And there's pros and cons to it. On one side, brands like Scully, and there's another one that made an integrated one, and even Shoei's working on one in Japan, that uses an integrated system into a helmet. Now for Shoei to do it, Shoei's a very respected brand in the helmet world, so I have less issue with that. But one of the complaints that I've heard about the other integrated ones is that the helmet itself is not high quality, and that gives you a sour taste on the system overall. It also increases the cost of the thing for a helmet maybe you really want. So the alternative to that is to do what Eyelights did and say, fine, we'll make a kit that you install in your helmet of choice. So I think that's great because it gives me the ability to buy the helmet I want and just install it. But again, it's not the prettiest install, and there's just not a good way to do some things. There are several examples where I think they got the user needs and the feature set right. The implementation is what I didn't like. So they said, hey, we need a user need to be able to navigate through the menu of icons in here. And they did that, but the voice command doesn't work, or I couldn't get it to work really. And the smart controller is clunky and just, when you're looking at that and you're looking at this, you're not looking at the road. And I didn't care for that. Also with the sound, they recognized, hey, we need speakers and we need a microphone to be able to make calls and have music, but the speakers aren't loud enough. The microphone rubs my face and I can't figure out how to control the volume. The battery life isn't the best, but you can augment that, like I said, with an external battery pack and just shove that in your coat pocket. So that said, is there an application where this product makes sense? For me personally, having a couple bikes and very different riding styles with those, the GS Adventure bike I just got, I have a port for the navigation system. So it's got a Garmin on it. I also have a place to mount the phone, and both of those are receiving power from the bike itself. So I combine those with a Senna, which has 12 hours of battery life, and I'm not fighting battery life like I would with this thing. I have nice big screens to be able to do things with, but I'm also looking at the screens and not up in front of me, which this allows me to do. So all those things considered, if I'm on a long ride with that bike, 8, 10 hours, whatever, the Senna is going to give me enough battery life. I've got the Garmin for it. I've got the phone sitting there if I would prefer that as well. However, not all bikes have room for all those kind of accessories. My Aprilia RSV4, I have a stem mount that holds the radar detector, which is kind of a necessity. But that means I don't have a way to mount my phone really well to it because the clip-on bars don't have room to put like a quad lock mount or anything on there. So the phone kind of has to go in my pocket. So for riding the Aprilia, if I need navigation, having something like this is a really nice option. The bike itself is not exactly a touring bike, so I'm probably not going to ride it terribly far. But if I want to take that bike downtown to a restaurant or something, maybe it's a place I've not been, or maybe I'm just trying to avoid traffic jams, then this is a really nice option because I can program it in advance. Google takes me the best route possible. I can see it easily, and I have that visual with this in my pocket, and I get where I need it to go, and I'm probably not worried about my 2-hour limit on the battery life. So I feel like it does have its purpose. If this product would have had the quality for sound of the Senna and a way to control the volume, I would have loved it so much more. Again, I think this is such cool technology, but the implementation has to be there. You can't just say, I do whatever. You need to do it well if we're gonna spend money for your products. I would love to see in the future if they would come out with a Gen 2 that would have a more Senna-like audio interface, or what does that Shoei integrated helmet look like in Japan? Will that ever make it over to the States, and what does that look like? So the technology, or even would Senna say, hey, we already got the audio part figured out, now we're just going to partner with somebody to figure out the prism thing, or maybe they would figure out a way to project against the screen inside to give it more of the Iron Man look as opposed to just this Google Glass thing in the corner. So there's a lot of options out there for it. I think it's cool tech. I think it has its place, but you also have to remember this product was, I think, $800 or $900 when I bought it some time ago. And that's pretty big investment. That's, you know, can be more than what your helmet cost. So is that going to be worth it for us to do instead of just having a phone or something on our bike? It depends on what your mounting options are, where you're going, etc. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the product. Like I said, I love the tech. I think it's a cool product. I just don't think the implementation was there. You may feel otherwise. If you've tried this product or Scully, you know, other competing products and have thoughts, I'd love to see your comments below. This is just what I've found and where I see it fitting best for the kind of riding that I do. If you haven't done so, please click the link below to subscribe, click the little bell for notifications, and let's live for today.